$850 million. But if you can donate, you have to vote. I kind of see things in like, or hear things and function as an athlete, it's kind of like sports or running a marathon. We're at mile, 24, 25 now with 30 days left. We have to stay focused and keep our eye on the ball. As you saw in this week's debate, there's only one candidate who is really equipped to take on the challenges our country faces and who's demonstrated the temperament and leadership our country is looking for. And certainly Vice President Biden and Kamala are really a dynamic duo. That's what in figure skating, it's like they are a perfect skating pair. They'll be ready to tackle the work that is needed to heal our country on day one of a Biden and Harris administration. I like just saying that, Biden-Harris administration. Don't you just like the ring of that? I know that every little girl can see a little bit of themselves in Senator Harris, especially for young Black and Asian girls, young women of color across the country who dreams of serving their country too. I love what Kamala said, on the campaign trail, that what her mother tells her when she was growing up, don't sit around and complain about things, do something. I can almost hear my parents saying the same thing, which is exactly what drives Kamala every single day to fight for all of us. Being a child of immigrants, that is something that a lot of us in the community see in ourselves. And it's why Kamala Harris and her nomination is so impactful. As you know, representation matters. And we should want our elected officials not just to look like us, but to speak to, with, and for us. Like you said, Steve, these elections are so personal to each and every one of you. I know that there could be a number of things that you could be doing on a Sunday evening, and why you jumped on this call. To me, on the campaign trail, I often think of my parents who immigrated to the United States with nothing, coming here in their early 20s, of hoping, more opportunities, like you said, possibilities, a roof over our head, a great education, chasing after what we know is the American dream, that if you work hard, play by the rules, that you could be anything you want, and maybe you can be an Olympic figure skater and work for the next president of the United States. To me, the American dream is at stake. We need a president that will fight for everybody, that's dedicated his entire life in public service, and will continue to fight for everybody, not just those on the top. And this also means fighting for the AAPI community and building upon what was the Obama-Biden initiative on AAPIs and strengthen the Pacific Island Task Force. From healthcare to education to gun safety to protecting our planet against climate change to securing our values as a nation of immigrants. There's just so much at stake, and we have to do everything that we can. We have to vote like our democracy depends on it. And I don't have to tell you, everybody that's on the phone, the whole country knows that North Carolina will play such a monumental role in this election, not only in electing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but also flipping the Senate, keeping Roy Cooper as governor. North Carolina is the only state that has those three critical close elections on the ballot at the same time. And we know every single vote and every single vote matters. In order to win this election, we need to safely engage our voters in every corner of North Carolina, to talk to everyone. Trust me, our robust digital organizing and mobilizing efforts is doing just that. We're working 24/7 to reach the diverse coalition of voters in North Carolina, because we need to win with dedicated coalition of staffs and organizers focused on 22 coalitions, including our AAPI community. So I'll keep it simple. There are 30 days left. We must turn out the vote. Request your mail-in ballot. Vote early if you can. Encourage your friends, your family members. I certainly have been hounding and badgering them and giving that pep talk. And there are a few stragglers in the family, where you have to text them a couple of more times. So I hope you continue to do that. Make sure you're registered to vote, make a voting plan, and vote. So now I would like to turn it over to two very special guests that we have here. Congresswoman Stephanie Murphy and Aasif Mandvi for a short Q&A. So Representative Stephanie Murphy represents Florida's 7th Congressional District. Stephanie Murphy is the first Vietnamese American woman to be elected in the U.S. Congress. She has served as a representative from Florida's 7th Congressional District since her election in 2016. We also have Aasif Mandvi, is a Peabody and award-winning actor, writer, creator, comedian, author, and producer. Wow. Widely known for his work as a correspondent on the multi-Emmy award-winning The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. Monvi is currently starring in 2 television series and is hosting a new podcast. But aside from his art, Monvi works closely with the ACLU, defending individual rights and liberties, including the Deportation Jamboree that he hosted and produced. So welcome, Representative Murphy and Aasif. So I'd love to have, first question, why are you in this fight and why are you supporting Joe Biden and Kamala Harris?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Aasif.
Well, okay. So for me, it is, I think, and it is for a lot of us, and it's been said before, this may be the most critical election of our lifetime. We are in an existential moment. We have a president in the White House who clearly is not the president for all the people. He does not. He runs this country like a small business. Like, he basically only talks to his supporters, and that's what he's interested in. And the rest of us are left out. And you have a man who really is only, the debate, it was very obvious the nature of these two men, Joe Biden and Donald Trump. You had Donald Trump, who just interrupted, argued with the moderator, and talked to Joe Biden. And then Joe Biden, you had, who talked right to the American people and spoke to us through the camera. And that sort of is indicative of on a very macro scale, the difference between these two men. Joe Biden is here, I think, to be the president for all of us, and to we're in a crisis right now. We have 200,000 plus Americans dead from an incredibly mishandled pandemic that Donald Trump literally has just woefully mishandled. And you have and then you have Joe Biden, who really, I think, brings a level of compassion and heart. And it's interesting. We really need that today. We really need somebody who is going to speak to us and care about the stuff that we're going through. People are struggling with racial inequality. Loved ones having died from this pandemic, economic crisis. The pandemic has caused a huge economic crisis. We need somebody in the White House who can speak to us and care about what we're going through. And Donald Trump is not that person. He's never been that person, and he's not going to change. And the next 4 years are not going to be any different if he gets elected. So that's why I'm in this, because for me, it is a fight for our democracy. And it is, if Donald Trump gets elected for another 4 years, we will not have a democracy in the kind of democracy that my parents came to this country for, and that I came to this country because of. And I'm an immigrant to this country. And the way he's talked about immigrants, the children in cages at the border, if you look at stuff like that, it's just on and on and on. So that's why I feel like we need a president who cares about us on a very fundamental level, and we can do it. There are more of us than there are of them. This country is being run by a minority right now, and there are more of us. And if we all get out there and vote, we can have a landslide and we can beat this, because, he can try to sue in the courts, because he will. He's never going to accept defeat. But if we have a landslide, and if Joe Biden if we go out and vote for Joe Biden and show our numbers and our colors out there, especially with the immigrant and Asian American and the South Asian American community in this country, if we get out there and vote, we can make a difference, and we can have a landslide. That's why I'm voting. That's why I think it's important.
Well, Michelle, it's so great to be with you again. And Aasif, it's nice to meet you. It's great to be on this call with so many AAPI who are interested in protecting the American dream and saving our country. As Steve Rao said, this was personal for him. And Aasif and Michelle, you all shared your personal reason for why this electing a Biden-Harris administration is so critically important. And for me, it's personal too. I'm a refugee, I'm an immigrant. I am somebody who was rescued by the US Navy as my parents and I were fleeing communist Vietnam, and given a chance to live in freedom and have opportunity in Virginia growing up. And you know, I often say I went from a trailer park to an office park through quality public education, through the idea that if you work hard, you can achieve a lot. My family was able to put me through school, and I became the first woman in my family to graduate college. And 9/11 happened, and I quit my private sector job and went back to school and went to work at the Department of Defense, trying to keep our country safe. And then in 2016, in response to a horrific act of hate and gun violence, a man walked into a nightclub in my community and took the lives of 49 innocent individuals. And the person representing me took a check from the NRA 2 days later. And I decided to run for Congress, becoming the first Vietnamese American woman ever elected. But all of that would never have happened except for in a place like America. But it isn't self-fulfilling that America will always remain this way, that the American dream will always be accessible no matter what, you know, zip code you grow up in or where you're born. And so it's upon us, it's incumbent upon us to elect leaders who have empathy and have experience and have the ability to lead this country into a brighter future. We all know we're in the midst of a crisis right now, a health crisis, an economic crisis that has spurred on a hunger crisis, an education crisis, a housing crisis. We are a moment of crisis in this country, and we need strong leadership today more than ever before. And I think that Joe Biden understands that we are in a moment of crisis, and he has the experience and the vision for how to lead us out of this moment. And I think he's going to put our country on a brighter path. He has risen to meet this moment. He has always used his career to fight for equality and justice, and he's done it by bringing people together. And I think it's fair to say that we need that more today than we ever have. I believe he's going to be a leader for all people. And the amazing thing is Kamala Harris will be our first AAPI vice president in history. She will be a barrier-breaking partner who will be ready on day one. And so, as Michelle, you pointed out, it isn't just about electing Joe and Kamala to the White House in North Carolina. It is also about flipping the Senate and keeping Roy Cooper as governor. So North Carolina, our future, and your state, just like Florida, like the one I represent, these states are won by such narrow margins. We can't take anything for granted. I think just as a little reminder, Michelle, you said this, don't listen to the polls, and you're absolutely right. Don't listen to the polls, because on October 10th of 2016, Hillary Clinton was up by 14% nationwide in national polling. And I always tell people, I don't know a pollster who has the model for turnout in a pandemic. So we can't depend on these polls. All we have to do in order to preserve the American dream and to have a brighter future for our families and our children is vote like our lives depend on it. And, you know, make a plan, vote, and then make sure that others that you know, your friends, your family, vote. And if you're not, if you are in a blue state, I would recommend you call all your family members in the purple and red states. We have got to win this from an electoral college perspective, as well as from a popular vote perspective, so that we eliminate any possibility for the president to try to contest the outcome of this election. Lives depend on it. And I'm excited that AAPI as a voting bloc has a real opportunity in these closely held states to make a massive difference. So let's go, let's vote, let's win.
Yeah, let's go, let's win. Thank you so much, Representative Murphy. We need new leadership that leads with compassion and experience. And thank you, Aasif. I do have one more question. What is your plan to vote? I know that there's so much misinformation out there. what is your plan? If you could share with all the audience.
Well, I'm gonna vote in person on election day. But if you are in North Carolina, you can vote. You can mail in your ballot, and you can also vote early, and you can vote in person on the day of the election. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stand in line like I do every 4 years and vote. But if you can't, if you don't have the time, or you're working, or something, you should mail in your ballot now. And you should get it in early, and you can also, I think you can even vote in person early, right? I think that's possible as well. So do it now. And again, I encourage all of you out there, Asian Americans, South Asian Americans, and whatever immigrants, to call up your uncles and aunties and your grandparents and whoever, and get them registered. Make sure that they're registered to vote as well.
For me, I will be using my vote by mail ballot, and I will bring it to the supervisors of elections in Florida. And I think the important thing is, no matter how you choose to vote, that you absolutely make a plan to vote. And you can find out more information about voting at iwillvote.com. And you can put in your state and your area and find out specifically what you need to do. In North Carolina, vote by mail is going to begin on September 4th, and early voting in North Carolina begins on October 15th and ends on October 31st. So if you want to early vote, make sure, just think Halloween is the last moment that you can get in to vote. For voters who have decided to vote by mail, there are a couple things that you have to be really cognizant of to make sure that your ballot is counted successfully. First, before you cast your ballot, grab a family member, a neighbor, a friend, somebody to be your witness. And then vote your ballot, and then sign the ballot return envelope and have your witness sign and write their name and address on it as well. Return your ballot as soon as you can. You don't want to take any chances with the Postal Service this year. If you're within, I always tell my constituents, if you're within 2 weeks of Election Day, do not put your ballot in the mail. Take it to one of the places where you can put it, supervisor election, or one of those early voting places where you can submit your ballot. And then a lot of supervisors of elections have websites so that you can verify that your ballot was counted. I know it sounds like a lot of steps to vote, and usually we just roll into the polls and vote, but this is an unusual year, and we just want to make sure that we do everything we can to make sure that not only we vote, but that our vote is counted. So iwillvote.com is a great place for resources, and find out more information on how to do it. Make a plan, and encourage your friends and family to do the same.
I will be doing the same thing, Representative Murphy, mail-in ballot. Thank you so much. I don't know if you have any last thoughts. I always say, go to iwillvote.com. It is such an easy, simple website. Make sure that your registration status is up to date. Make a voting plan, and it's simple and it's easy. Representative Murphy, Aasif, thank you. Any last thoughts before we turn it back to Steve?
No, just go to iwillvote.com. I'm going to go there right now after this.
Thanks so much for having me with you all. Go vote.
Go vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I want to thank everybody. Congressman Murphy, I know you haven't left yet, but I just want to thank you for being here with us. And I want to tell you the Vietnamese community of the state would be so honored to have you come visit us. And we're all so very proud of you. And Aasif, we're also so proud of what you've done in your career. So you both have open invitations to come to North Carolina. I am addicted to banh mi sandwiches, so I've been known to sneak them in my bag when I take them in, and my car will drive over. So you can have a banh mi sandwich and pulled pork in Morrisville with me when you come.
I look forward to it.
Thank you so much. So
You do.
yeah, we're now going to go into the roll call. I think. Am I correct to do that? I just want to make sure I'm. Yep. Okay. Okay. Great. So we're going to go into the roll call, where I'm going to call up some real stars and candidates, and my first is an honor of introducing a longtime friend who's going to make history, becoming the first Asian American elected statewide. Even though some of his TV ads said he's a nerd, he's one of the most articulate, good-looking guys I've known, and he's absolutely brilliant. He's a doctor at Duke University, a professor, even though my daughter is a Carolina, I won't hold that against him. And he served in the White House Council of Economic Advisors. So it's my honor to introduce to you a man who will make history in a month, a dear friend, the Democratic nominee for North Carolina State Treasurer, Dr. Ronnie Chatterjee.
Oh, Steve, I just feel like I should drop the mic after that introduction and just cede my 2 minutes. Thank you so much. And it's awesome to be here with all these AAPI icons and leaders. Steve's right. I call myself a nerd because I'm an economist. I've never run for office before, but we are going to make history on November 3rd and be the first Asian American Pacific Islander ever elected statewide in North Carolina history. But we couldn't have done it with all the political participation, all the leadership from the people you see on your Zoom gallery and so many of the folks who aren't with us today. So I'm grateful to everyone's support, and I'm hoping I can support you and the community in all your endeavors. I got my start working for President Obama and Vice President Biden. I worked in 2008 to elect them in North Carolina. And you remember they won North Carolina in 2008, just the same way that Vice President Biden and Senator Harris are going to win North Carolina in 2020. When I worked at the Council of Economic Advisors, we were working on trying to get the economy back from the greatest downturn since the Great Recession. And Joe Biden was the point person on the Recovery Act, making sure we didn't forget Main Street, making sure we took care of small businesses, making sure we invested in infrastructure. And that's why I'm so confident about his skills, along with Senator Harris, to bring our economy back and get us to where we need to be. I also want to assure you that Vice President's heart is large enough to incorporate everyone in this country. I still remember one of my best experiences in the White House was when we had a Diwali celebration. My wife, Neely, and I went to it, and Vice President Biden was a special guest. The kind of man he is, he did not leave until he shook everyone's hand in that room, hugged everybody he could. And when we went up to him, he hugged Neely. He told her that his first wife, his late wife's name was Neely as well. He looked at me and said, "If I had your hair, I'd be president." This is a man who can relate to anybody, no matter who they are, and he will represent all of us. But here's the thing, if he's gonna deliver for us, we gotta deliver for him. So when it comes to voting, whether it's absentee ballot mail-in, whether it's early voting in person, the way I'm gonna do it, whether it's voting on election day, make your plan now. We must deliver the vote for Vice President Biden and Senator Harris in November 3rd, and we have to be ready to make sure that every vote counts. Then, after we do this, we can start the task of changing this country and repairing the damage of the last 4 years. I'm so excited to be here. We're going to make history on November 3rd in North Carolina and all across this country. And let's just remember, like as Congresswoman Murphy said, vote like your life depends on it. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Ronnie, and your passion is just unbelievable. Our next speaker is a trailblazer. I call it the Trailblazer Club. It's growing in North Carolina. Ya Lu, an immigrant from China. My favorite musical is Alexander Hamilton, an immigrant who worked smarter and harder to become the $10 founding father. And even though she's a female, Ya Lu and like Satish Garamella, I call them my Alexander Hamiltons, and because they are immigrants who came here, so they had it even harder. And she became the first Asian American elected in the history of the town of Cary, and the second one, or actually joins the list of ones you're going to hear from today. So Councilman Ya Lu, welcome, and please, the floor is yours. Ya, are you there?
Thank you so much for your kind introduction, Councilman Steve Rao. Talking about Trailblazer, you are the president of the Trailblazer Club in North Carolina, as you were, you made history by being the first elected Asian American government official in North Carolina, and we all follow suit. So, and Joe, my support for Joe is a personal one. And when I ran in 2019, before I ran, I wasn't particularly very active in politics. And so I listened to Joe's campaign video, and his words really resonated with me, and his call for action. And he talked about how the incident in Charlottesville inspired his run. And that's one of the major reasons that motivated me to run. And if you see something you don't agree with, you see racism, you see white supremacists walking under the sun, and you just take actions. As a community organizer, you organize the events to get voters to vote for the president. that will make the positive change for our future generations. And as a candidate, I took Joe Biden's words into my heart. And when things got hard during my campaign, and I just listened to his videos over and over again, I'm so excited Kamala is on the same ticket as Joe Biden, as I think Joe and Kamala Harris represent the future of our nation. When Donald Trump said Chinese virus, and that kind of rhetoric really hurt many members in the AAPI community. I'm an attorney, and I really had some members coming to me basically saying that there are strangers who would call Chinese virus and asking them to go back to their country, and words have consequences. We just cannot afford to have another 4 years of Trump's presidency. We need to elect Joe Biden. Joe Biden is the son of a middle-class family. He's been fighting for the working families almost his entire life. And we see his empathy and his heart. We understand that he will truly care about each one of us, and he will lead us to restore the soul of the nation. We trust him, and he will lead us to a greater future. I'm so proud to support him and urge you and every one of you to vote for him and mobilize the community to vote for Joe, and he will be our next president. I'm so excited about November the 3rd. I'm going to grab the popcorn with my kids, celebrate with some beers, and just watching the election results coming in. And I'm excited about, I'm feeling really positive about Joe's chance to win North Carolina. Let's do this for Joe.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Wonderful, wonderful. And one of the newest members to the Trailblazer Club, I got to come up with a better name for that, is Councilman in Chapel Hill, Tai Huynh. I'm sorry if I got the last name pronounced wrong. And he is also Vietnamese American, made history, came into Chapel Hill. I'm glad you're in Chapel Hill. I'm the parent of a Tar Heel who actually is an editor for the Tar Heel newspaper, my daughter. And I wanted to thank you so much for being here. And Ty, the floor is yours. And thank you for all the work you do for Chapel Hill.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Steve. I'm so proud to be a Tar Heel as well. I graduated this past May. Again, my name is Tai Huynh, and I have the honor and pleasure of serving on the town council in Chapel Hill, or the southern slice of heaven, as we like to call our little town here in North Carolina. And, I'm so excited to be here with such high caliber AAPI leaders who were, inspirational in me deciding to run for office. I was 22 when I decided to run, and being able to see other electeds across the state who looked like me, who had my background, really pushed me to think that, I can actually accomplish, I can actually do this. And so when I look at Senator Harris, I can't even imagine the impact that she will have on our next generation of AAPI when they can grow up and see that we have a vice president who shares in their heritage, their background, that looks like them and knows the hardship of coming from our community. My parents were also refugees from Vietnam, and they escaped a communist country, and they got the chance at freedom when they came to America. And, growing up in that tight-knit refugee community, we really had to fight for everything from our healthcare to my education. And, I was really proud to become the first person in my family to go to college, but none of that would have been possible without our chance to come to this country. And so for me, it's also personal in supporting Vice President Biden for president, because he shares our values and he knows that this country is built on the backs of immigrants.
Thank you. So well said, Ty. And we thank you, Councilman, for all that you're doing. And we look forward to your very bright future. Go Heels. Next we have another person who will soon be joining the Trailblazer Club. She's just a very smart lady. She'll become the first Filipino American elected in Wake County Commissioners. And I think the first Asian American in history elected. So she's on the ballot now. Very smart, got a heart of gold, and been a friend of mine for a long time. So it's my honor to introduce our next Wake County Commissioner, Maria Cervania.
Thank you so much, Steve. That was such a wonderful introduction, and I'm really honored to be on such an illustrious panel with all these great AAPI leaders here locally and also nationally. My name is Maria Cervania. I am from Cary, North Carolina. Yalu is my representative, and I was so excited when she was elected. I was part of her campaign team, and we knew she was going to be part of history. I'm honored to actually be selected as the state co-director for the Phil Ames for Biden Harris campaign, and also humbled to be the Democratic nominee for Wake County commissioner. Wake County encompasses Cary, Raleigh, and 10 other municipalities. And the Asian American Pacific Islander community is the fastest community that is growing here in our area. And we're slowly electing great leaders like Steve, Ya, Satish, Jay, and hopefully I'll be part of that club as well, to be able to be the voice of people who haven't had a voice during the time that all of us have been building our community for the better. So many people think I'm but a community activist and work for the party. But professionally, I'm an epidemiologist and biostatistician. And, I worked during the H1N1 pandemic. And what's different from now and then is that President Obama and Vice President Biden committed wholeheartedly, financially, and with resources to make sure that the H1N1 flu didn't escalate like it's escalating now in only, not like, bless their souls, 12,000 people had died, but it's not in the same magnitude as the 200,000 plus people and more if we don't do something about it and change our leadership, right? So, we have a national problem with no national strategy and no national response. And going back to Joe Biden and Kamala, they're going to be ready on day one to be able to get our health back on track. And they're going to lead us out of this COVID pandemic and get our country back on track. And what the great news is that no matter how bad this is and how much Trump's failures are to lead, when November comes around, you'll be able to show what real leadership looks like by voting. And it's such an impactful thing when everybody's saying, make a plan, because making a plan is the most important thing, even to the day, to the hour, to the place. That's what you all need to do. And just getting back onto the epidemic thing, that voting is actually still the best vaccine against the virus of bad government. So remember that. And I'm going to bring it back to what Michelle Kwan said so well. As an AAPI woman, we all do see a part of us in Kamala Harris. We both are children of immigrants who were born in Oakland, California. I was born in Oakland, California as well. And, we were raised at the very young age to fight against injustice. And that fight still continues. The future of our democracy is at stake. And this election and you on the front lines are going to make the difference. So Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Roy Cooper for governor, Democrats up and down our ballot are counting on you. So please, please, let's all work hard between now and election day to make sure that we elect all of these great candidates and really restore the soul of our nation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Maria. And our last roll call. And before I do, I just want to tell everybody on this call that the best thing about being first is to know you're not the last. And it's just been amazing the kind of talent that we have on the bench. And so we're just getting started in North Carolina. And I want to thank Gracie Galloway for all she does for AAPI and Asara on the call. And all of you are just doing remarkable things. So on that note, I want to end with bringing up Senator Mutaba Mohammed. Now you talk about winning. This guy is amazing. I'm getting a little depressed. I look at the age of these candidates, and I turned 50 this year, so I'm feeling a little old. But he's young man from Charlotte, won with 81% of the vote, and he's been hitting the ground running. And he joined Senator Jay Chaudhary, who's now the minority whip, one of my dear friends, to be the second Asian American in the state Senate, which is wonderful. And he's just a great person and a very, very big heart and really sharp mind. So Senator, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for being with us. We know you're busy, and please, thank you.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Steve, thank you so much for those very kind words. Thank you so much for helping us break that glass ceiling. So we have so many great Asian Americans on this call today, and we're going to continue to elect many more. Folks, again, my name is Mujtaba Mohammed. It's great to be here with you again. We had our great AAPI kickoff for Biden last week, so it was wonderful to join you then, but it's great to join you now live. Proud to represent North Carolina's 38th Senate District here in Mecklenburg County. I'm the youngest elected state senator. I'm also, like Steve mentioned, I'm one of two Asian Americans serving you in the North Carolina General Assembly. And I want to again begin by just thanking AAPI's Leadership Council and Team Biden for organizing. I want to give huge thanks to our special guests, Representative Murphy, Michelle Kwan, and Aasif Mandvi. A huge thanks to each of you for joining us today. Yes, North Carolina is the biggest battleground in 2020. And what I will tell you is no Republican has been able to win the White House without North Carolina. And because of you and your efforts, you're putting North Carolina in play for Joe Biden. And the path to the United States Senate runs through North Carolina. The opportunity to make history by electing our first Asian American with Ronnie Chatterjee as our state treasurer, and the opportunity to elect so many great candidates on this call today, and the ones that will continue to come, is a wonderful opportunity right now. But behind these great candidates, my friends, are people like you and the many more alike. Real people, real lives, and real opportunities for all in North Carolina. And this election is about you. And yes, education is on the line, healthcare is on the line, economic justice is on the line. But this election is about so much more than that. It's about rejecting hate, letting our children and grandchildren know that they too belong, letting our children understand and value that our diversity in North Carolina and our country is our greatest strength. And that's why we need you. I don't want to spend too much time, but I just want to tell you the dark money special interests have their eye on North Carolina. Don't trust those poll numbers. You may be disappointed. So we've got to continue to do everything we can to roll up our sleeves, dig a little deeper in our wallets, make every call, text, everything that we can do. A lot of the great things that these candidates talked about, making a plan to vote. Voter suppression, my friends, I'm sorry to tell you, will be alive and well during COVID-19. So it's going to be all hands on deck. I can tell you each one of these candidates are doing their part to make sure we move our state and country forward. We need to continue to have you do your part to bring change all the way from the White House down to our state house. It's for the sake of our country and future. I know that working together, my dear friends, my Asian Americans, that nothing can stop us and our best days are ahead of us. So thank you so much for having me, Steve. Great job. Great to see everyone.
Thank you, Senator. And it's always a pleasure to see you. And hopefully we'll all be meeting soon when we beat this pandemic. Before I bring her up, I just want to say a prayer to President Trump, Melania Trump, the First Lady, and also Senator Tillis. But that doesn't mean we stop our fight. We still have to elect Joe Biden and Kamala. But we do play for our country at this time during these very uncertain, dark times. But we're here to bring light back, change our country. So on that note, I'm going to hand it over to Sonia Breda, who is going to talk about the Vote Joe app and some digital logistics on what we can do to win this thing and get it in the end zone and claim victory in a month. Thank you, Sonia. It's a great role. That's my daughter's name, but
oh, really? Yeah. I love that. This has been so inspiring. Thanks to everyone who spoke. It really is such an honor to get to hear from all of you. If you're like me and you're excited and you're energized and you are ready to get to work, now is the time, right? We have less than 30 days. There is no time like the present to get involved and not only make your plan to vote, but also get your friends and your family members registered and ready to cast their ballots this fall. How many of you have already chatted with friends or family about the election like Michelle Kwan just described? Just type me in the chat box. All right, I'm seeing folks. Yep, you're already having these conversations. So whether or not you know it, you are engaging in relational organizing. So it sounds like a wonky term, but really it's at the heart of what we've always done, having conversations with our friends, our family members, our communities about the importance of this election and why it counts. We're able to move along to the next slide. Thank you so much. So basically, the Vote Joe app is going to help us do the same thing that we've always done, but in an even more organized and intentional way. So to download the Vote Joe app, it really is as simple as just texting the word app, APP, to the number 30330. You can also look for the Vote Joe app in the App Store or in the Google Play Store and go ahead and download it. And the reason that we're doing this next is that we know that folks are more likely to answer your calls than they are to answer a stranger's call, right? We know that folks are getting inundated with information, some of it inaccurate information, and we know that you are the most trusted messenger, the person who will actually be able to get through to the voter and help them get the information, the resources they need to cast their ballot this fall. To the next slide. In terms of our goals, what we're really thinking about is we're trying to reach folks who are in the middle, right? We're not asking you to reach out to your most conservative relative, definitely have those conversations too, but the folks that we're really trying to reach are folks who, maybe are strong Democrats, but we want to deepen their engagement. We want them to volunteer with us, to really get invested in this fight. We also want to reach our friends and our family members or community members who, are maybe on the fence, they're a little undecided, and we want to bring them over to our team to help elect Democrats up and down the ballot in North Carolina. And then finally, we want to encourage folks in our community that, maybe need more information, they need a little encouragement to help them make that voting plan. And we're going to be able to do all of that very easily, seamlessly in the Vote Joe app. So next slide. Once you go ahead and download the Vote Joe app, you will be able to see on the lower left-hand corner of the app this home button. And when you click on that, you will see a whole list of actions. And all of those actions you can take, you can see the template messages that are there. You can copy and paste those template messages into the messaging platform that you use, that your community uses. You can also just click through and it'll link you directly to iMessage if you're an iPhone user and make that really seamless. And once you are, having those conversations, we really encourage you to talk to your friends and family members like you always would, right? The templates are there to help make it easy, but you can also tweak them and add an emoji, customize it. This makes it super easy to get folks the information they need. And if they do have any questions, a number of folks have already mentioned this today, but iwillvote.com is a wonderful resource to get them information about those key dates, how to request their ballot, any question they might have. It's a great, great resource to have. And then the important part, right, about how we're going to be intentional, next slide, is that we're going to be able to share the data from those conversations with the campaign so we can really target our efforts and make sure that we're using our time effectively. So once you are in the Vote Joe app, you will see in the top right-hand corner of your screen this little button that says Take Action, okay? So you're just going to click on that button, next slide, and you will see the screen prompt you to enter some data about a conversation you had with someone new. So someone maybe who you don't have their phone number, or with a friend or contact who is in your phone, right? And so next slide, once you do that, you will be able to share some information with the campaign. One more slide, thank you. Once you do that, you'll be able to share some information with the campaign about the conversation that you had, right? Did the person you speak with, do they support Biden? Are they interested in volunteer opportunities? Have they made a voting plan? Do they need more information to make that voting plan? And then you can easily and seamlessly click this button at the bottom of your screen that says send to campaign that data, and it will connect it to our voter file that we have on file for that person and be able to help them get connected to an organizer if they want to volunteer, help get them more information about how to make their voting plan if they do need a little extra help kind of making that plan. So it really is that seamless. We really encourage you to use the Vote Joe app to report on these conversations that we know you are already having, which is so wonderful. Next slide. A final thing that I'll share is, if you're like me and you're a little bit competitive, we do have a leaderboard in the app. It's this icon with, it looks like a little trophy. You can click on that and please join our Asian American and Pacific Islander for Biden team. Every time you take an action, right, you send a message to your friends and family members, help them make those voting plans. We will accrue points as a team. And I don't know about you, but I really want both to elect Democrats up and down the ballot. And I also want to see us winning on this leaderboard. So it really is as simple as just clicking on that trophy icon and then going ahead and clicking that join team button. Thanks to everyone so much for attending this event tonight. Do go ahead and text your friends and family members so they can get involved. If you want a more in-depth training on how to use the Vote Joe app, we actually have an event tomorrow called Goodbye Blues, Hello Blue Wave, Trivia and Social Media Night of Action. We'll walk through all of this much more slowly so that you can really have all the information you need to have these conversations with folks. But thank you so much for attending, and let's go win this.
Sonia, thank you so much. And I think we're wrapping up. And I just wanted to close out with one quick message. I saw many people from the Nepalese community here today. We have a huge Nepal community, and their tagline is "First in Flight" for the Nepalese community in North Carolina. And I think that's one thing I've been thinking about is when you see planes take off from RDU Airport, you know that if they have enough fuel and they have a destination in mind, there's no limit to where they can go. But the most important person is the person flying the plane. And so when you look at America as a plane flight, we've got to get Joe Biden elected president. And nothing on the cockpit should say hatred, bigotry, racism. We need to be united, and we need to run our country with love and light and passion. And the Bidens will bring that back to the White House. So let's spread that message about the kind of man Joe Biden is. And thank you all for letting me MC this event, and the Biden team for all the work you're doing. And let's get to work. Let's win this thing. We don't have much time left, and we got to win this thing on election day. Thank you.